Chapter 1. A new beginning. Lee stepped off the bus, the salty breeze of the seaside town brushing against her face. Her suitcase rattled softly on the cobblestone street as she took a deep breath, letting the sound of distant waves soothe the tight knot in her chest. The city behind her was a memory she carried with both regret and relief. Here, in this small town, she hoped to leave the weight of heartbreak and disappointment behind. The streets were lined with quaint shops and colorful facades, each window inviting a story she wanted to be part of. Children laughed as they chased each other along the pier, and a couple of elderly men played chess outside a tiny bakery, their voices mingling with the cries of seagulls overhead. Lily felt a spark of something she had not felt in a long time. It was not excitement or joy, not yet, but a gentle sense of possibility. She wandered through the town, letting her feet guide her past art galleries, flower shops, and small boutiques. Her gaze fell on a cozy little cafe tucked into the corner of a quiet street. The soft aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted out from the open door, inviting her in. She stepped inside and immediately felt a sense of calm wash over her. The cafe was warm and welcoming, with rustic wooden tables, soft golden lights, and a few people quietly sipping their drinks while reading or chatting. The barista greeted her with a smile that reached her eyes and offered a kind word. Lily found a small table by the window, overlooking the glistening waves in the distance. She ordered a cappuccino and watched as the town moved in its gentle rhythm. It felt peaceful in a way she had not allowed herself to feel in years. As she sipped her coffee, she realized how much she had needed this. The quiet charm of the town, the friendly faces, the soothing sounds of the sea, and the soft murmur of conversation in the cafe. For the first time since her heartbreak, she allowed herself to imagine a life that was not defined by past mistakes or lost love. She did not know what the future held, but she felt a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. This was the beginning of something new. Lily did not yet know how her life would change, who she would meet along the way. For now, she simply sat by the window, letting the sea breeze play with her hair, and let the peace of this small town seep into her heart. Chapter 2. The silent musician Lee returned to the cafe the next morning, drawn by the warmth she had felt the day before and the comforting aroma of fresh coffee. The town was quieter now, the streets still dappled with morning light, and the waves whispered softly against the shore. She chose a seat near the corner, a little further from the window this time, hoping to observe the cafe in its gentle rhythm. As she waited for her drink, her attention was drawn to the small stage tucked into the corner of the cafe. There, a man was setting up a guitar, his movements deliberate and precise. His dark hair fell slightly into his eyes as he tuned the strings, and Lily noticed the careful way he adjusted the microphone. There was a quiet intensity about him, a presence that seemed both close and distant at the same time. When he began to play, the cafe fell into a gentle hush. His music was soft but full of emotion, a melody that seemed to carry a mixture of longing and solace. Lily felt her chest tighten as she listened. She could hear the subtle tremor in his fingers, the pause between notes that spoke of something unspoken, a story hidden beneath the surface. He glanced briefly at the small crowd, then focused entirely on his instrument, as if the world beyond the stage did not exist. Lily was captivated, not just by the music, but by the quiet aura of solitude that surrounded him. She realized she had not heard anyone speak to him yet, and the thought stirred a mixture of curiosity and concern within her. Her coffee arrived, and she sipped it slowly, trying to steady the sudden rush of emotions the music had awakened. She felt an inexplicable pull, a desire to know the story behind those somber eyes and the haunting melodies. When the song ended, a soft round of applause echoed through the cafe. The musician nodded politely, but did not look at anyone directly. Lily hesitated, then offered him a small smile. He caught her gaze for a moment, and she saw a flicker of something shyness, perhaps, or a guarded kindness. He gave a faint nod in return, before looking down at his guitar again. Lily felt a strange sense of connection, fragile yet undeniable, and she wondered what had shaped the man behind those quiet eyes. As the morning passed, She found herself returning to the cafe again and again, drawn not only to the soothing coffee and the charm of the town, but also to the enigmatic musician, whose music seemed to echo the quiet corners of her own heart. Each note he played, each careful strum, felt like an invitation to step a little closer to someone who had kept the world at a distance. Lily did not know his name yet, nor did she know the depths of his story, but she sensed that meeting him was the first thread in a tapestry that would slowly, quietly, and unexpectedly weave itself around both their lives. Chapter 3. Shared moments. Lee had come to the cafe so many times that the barista greeted her with a warm, familiar smile, asking if she wanted her usual. She nodded, feeling the small comforts of routine soothe her nerves. The seaside town had begun to feel like a quiet refuge, a place where she could breathe and slowly piece herself back together. Yet her mind often drifted to the quiet musician, whose melodies seemed to linger long after he finished playing. It was mid-morning when the moment happened. Lily was carrying her coffee back to her table, careful not to spill, when her sleeve brushed against the edge of a chair. The cup wobbled, and before she could react, a few drops of warm liquid spilled onto the floor and dangerously close to Ethan's guitar case. Her face flushed crimson as she knelt to clean up, muttering apologies under her breath. Ethan appeared at her side before she could fully gather herself. His presence was calm, quiet, but there was a warmth there that made Lily's nerves ease slightly. "It's okay," he said softly, his voice low and steady. "It's just a little coffee." His eyes met hers for a brief moment, and she caught a hint of something behind them, a flicker of humor that made her cheeks heat even more. "I am so sorry," she said, brushing at the spilled coffee with napkins, feeling clumsy and awkward. He smiled faintly, kneeling down to help her steady the cup and clear the mess. The action was simple, but in that shared moment, there was a connection that neither of them could ignore. After the small mishap, they both returned to their respective spaces in the cafe, yet the atmosphere between them had subtly shifted. Lily noticed how he watched her from the corner of his eye while he tuned his guitar again, his fingers moving with precision and ease. She found herself gathering courage, finally speaking when he paused. "Your music, it's beautiful," she said, her voice almost trembling with sincerity. He looked up at her, a flicker of surprise crossing his features, before he returned a gentle nod. "Thank you," he replied quietly. "I appreciate that." The pause between his words held an unspoken depth, as if he had been waiting to hear someone truly listen. They began to talk in small bursts, about music, the cafe, and the gentle rhythm of the town. Ethan spoke in careful, measured words, yet there was a subtle passion in his voice that drew Lily in. She found herself laughing at little observations, feeling a rare comfort in the company of someone who seemed both guarded and profoundly genuine. Time passed almost unnoticed. The sunlight through the cafe windows turned golden, illuminating the steam rising from their cups. For the first time since arriving, Lily felt a sense of belonging, a quiet reassurance that perhaps her heart could slowly open again. The connection she shared with Ethan in those small, shared moments hinted at something deeper, a rhythm of understanding and mutual curiosity that neither could ignore. By the time she left the cafe that day, Lily carried with her a sense of anticipation, subtle yet unmistakable. She did not know where this connection would lead, but the thought of seeing Ethan again brought a flutter to her chest, a reminder that sometimes even the smallest shared moments could echo long after they passed. Chapter 4. Echoes of the past. Lily woke to the soft sound of waves against the shore, sunlight streaming through the curtains and painting her small apartment in warm hues. Despite the comforting rhythm of the seaside, her mind wandered to memories she had tried to bury, memories of love that had ended with heartbreak and words that could never be unsaid. She sighed, tracing the rim of her coffee cup, seeking answers in its warmth. The town offered distractions, but some evenings, when the quiet settled in and the streets were empty, the past crept back with quiet insistence. She remembered the nights spent in the city, the hurried conversations that ended in silence, and the sting of realizing that sometimes love was not enough. Her heart had carried the weight of betrayal and disappointment, making her cautious, making her afraid to let anyone close again. Yet there was a fragile part of her that longed to feel seen, to trust, to laugh freely once more. Ethan's presence in the cafe had begun to stir something she had not expected. His music, so filled with emotion, seemed to echo the corners of her own heart. When she watched him play, she could sense a story behind every note, a quiet yearning that mirrored her own. But Ethan, too, carried shadows of a past he rarely revealed. One afternoon, she caught him staring at an old photograph on the wall behind the cafe. It was a picture of the previous owner, a man with kind eyes, standing in the doorway of the building when it had first opened. There was a subtle tightness in Ethan's jaw, a slight hesitation as he traced the edges of the frame with his finger. Lily noticed the fleeting expression of sorrow and wondered what memories had made him pause so quietly. Their conversations, which had started light and cautious, began to brush against deeper themes. One morning, as Lily waited for her coffee, she asked, "Do you ever miss people who are gone?" Her words were tentative, almost afraid to be heard. Ethan looked up from his guitar case, the soft light catching in his eyes. There was a pause, and then he said, "Sometimes, but missing them doesn't always mean you're weak. It means you remember what mattered." His voice carried a vulnerability that he rarely let anyone see. Lily felt a pang of empathy. She wanted to reach out, to bridge the space between them, but she hesitated, unsure if he wanted someone to see that side of him. She understood that quiet pain, having carried her own. It was a delicate dance of trust and timing, the kind that required patience and understanding. Over the next few days, small moments began to reveal their histories in subtle ways. Lily found herself sharing fragments of her past in conversations that were never forced, moments where laughter broke through the tension of memory. Ethan, in return, allowed glimpses of his life to surface through stories of his music, of places he had been, of people he had lost. Each shared memory deepened the connection between them, weaving fragile threads of understanding and empathy. By the end of the week, Lily realized that the quiet musician was more than just a presence in the cafe. He was a mirror in which she saw reflections of her own wounds and hopes. And though their pasts were filled with echoes of pain, the way they acknowledged them together created a gentle promise that perhaps, one day, they could heal and find comfort in the rhythm of each other's hearts. As she left the cafe that evening, the sun dipping low over the water, Lily felt a mix of melancholy and hope. The past still lingered, but for the first time in a long while, she sensed the possibility of new beginnings, not just in the town, but in the quiet music that had started to echo within her own heart. Chapter 5. Unexpected gesture. The morning air carried the familiar scent of the sea, crisp and refreshing. As Lily made her way to the cafe, the town was slowly coming to life, with shopkeepers arranging their displays and seagulls gliding effortlessly over the waves. Lily felt a quiet anticipation, not just for her usual cup of coffee, but for the comforting rhythm of the cafe and the faint hope of seeing Ethan again. She found a seat near the window, where the sunlight spilled across the table in warm golden streaks. Her thoughts drifted to the previous days, to the small, unspoken understanding growing between her and the quiet musician. She wondered what stories were hidden behind his eyes, what memories lingered in the melodies he played. The cafe was busier than usual that morning. A group of tourists had arrived, their laughter ringing through the space, and the barista was hurriedly taking orders. Lily sipped her coffee, enjoying the warmth and watching the subtle chaos unfold. Suddenly, a commotion near the counter caught her attention. One of the tourists had dropped a bag of pastries, scattering crumbs across the floor and startling a small child nearby. Without thinking, Lily rose to help, bending to gather what she could. In that moment, Ethan appeared beside her, moving with a quiet efficiency that seemed almost instinctive. He knelt, picking up the remaining pastries and offering a reassuring smile to the flustered tourist. Lily watched as he spoke softly to calm the child, his voice gentle and unassuming. There was no showmanship, No desire for recognition, just genuine care. When the immediate moment passed, Ethan straightened and looked at Lily, his eyes holding a quiet warmth. "Are you okay?" he asked. His voice was low, steady, and filled with concern. Lily nodded, feeling a surge of admiration and a strange flutter in her chest. "Yes, thank you," she replied, her voice slightly breathless. "I didn't expect so much help," he shrugged modestly, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "Sometimes it's the little things that matter," he said simply. Lily felt the weight of the words, not just in their meaning, but in the sincerity behind them. She realized that this was the side of Ethan few people saw, the side that quietly noticed, cared, and acted without expectation. The rest of the morning passed with a newfound ease between them. Lily found herself laughing more freely, engaging in small conversations with Ethan that felt natural and unforced. They shared anecdotes about the town, their favorite music, and the peculiar habits of the locals. Each exchange, no matter how brief, seemed to deepen the connection, weaving trust and warmth into the spaces between them. As Lily gathered her things to leave, Ethan approached her with a small, folded piece of paper. "I thought you might like this," he said, offering it without fanfare. Lily unfolded it to find a simple sketch of the cafe, the pier, and the waves beyond, drawn with delicate lines and careful shading. There was no signature, only a quiet beauty that captured the essence of the town and the morning light. Lily's eyes welled with unexpected emotion. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Ethan nodded, his expression calm, but with a subtle vulnerability she had begun to recognize. "I wanted you to have a piece of this place," he said softly, "a reminder of small moments, and of the peace they can bring." She tucked the sketch carefully into her bag, feeling the weight of the gesture and the unspoken thoughtfulness behind it. It was more than a drawing. It was a message, a bridge of understanding and connection. For the first time, Lily saw beyond the quiet musician to the person who had slowly begun to touch her heart in ways words alone could not. Walking back through the sunlit streets toward her apartment, Lily felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the morning sun. Ethan's kindness, simple yet profound, lingered with her, echoing in her chest like the first notes of a melody that would not soon fade. She realized that sometimes the smallest gestures carried the greatest significance, and that her heart was beginning to respond in ways she had long thought impossible. Chapter 6. Sunset Confession. Sky was a canvas of molten gold and soft pink as Lily walked along the shoreline, her shoes tucked under her arm. The sand was cool beneath her feet, the waves lapping gently against the shore in a soothing rhythm. She carried the sketch Ethan had given her, cradling it carefully, and felt a quiet anticipation. He had invited her to watch the sunset with him, a simple gesture that felt profoundly intimate, and her heart thudded with nervous excitement. Ethan was already there when she arrived, standing near the water's edge with his guitar slung across his back. The sunlight caught the edges of his hair, giving him an almost ethereal glow, and Lily's breath hitched as she approached. He turned at the sound of her steps, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. His eyes, deep and thoughtful, met hers with a mixture of curiosity and quiet warmth. "Hi," she said softly, unsure how to bridge the silence that felt charged with unspoken words. "Hi," he replied, his voice steady, carrying a note of relief that she had come. "I thought you might like the view. It's different from the cafe, but peaceful in its own way." They walked along the shoreline, the sand shifting beneath their feet, and Lily felt a rare sense of ease in his presence. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows and painting the water with flickering light. She noticed the careful way Ethan watched the horizon, as if searching for something beyond the waves, and wondered what thoughts ran behind those guarded eyes. "I never knew the town could feel like this," she murmured, gesturing to the endless stretch of water and the warm hues above. "It's beautiful, but there's a quiet I didn't expect." Ethan glanced at her, a small smile playing at his lips. "It has its own rhythm," he said softly. "Sometimes it takes a while to notice it, but when you do, it can be comforting." His words lingered in the air, and Lily felt a shiver of recognition. It was as if he understood the quiet corners of her heart, the parts that had been closed off for so long. They sat down on a large rock, the waves curling around its base, and for a moment neither spoke. The music of the sea and the soft colors of the sunset filled the silence, wrapping around them like a gentle embrace. Then Lily took a deep breath, feeling the courage welling inside her. "Ethan, I've been thinking," she began, her voice hesitant but earnest, "about everything. About the cafe, about your music, about you. I didn't expect to feel this way so soon, but I feel like I can be myself here, with you." Ethan's eyes softened, and he shifted slightly to face her more directly. "Lily, His voice faltered for the first time, revealing a vulnerability he rarely let anyone see. "I didn't know how to let anyone in again. After everything I've been through, I thought I could only keep to myself. But being with you, even in these small moments, makes me feel alive again." Her heart quickened at his words, the weight of their honesty settling between them like a fragile promise. She reached out, letting her fingers brush his hand, and felt a warmth that went beyond the physical touch. It was connection, understanding, and something deeper that neither of them could fully define yet. They talked then, slowly, about their fears, their dreams, and the invisible walls they had built around their hearts. Lily shared stories of her past heartbreak, the moments she had doubted herself, and the cautious hope that had brought her to this town. Ethan revealed glimpses of his own losses, the music that had been his refuge, and the hesitations that made him keep others at a distance. As the sun sank lower, painting the horizon with shades of fire and rose, Lily and Ethan sat side by side, feeling the quiet echo of their confessions resonate between them. It was not a declaration of love, not yet, but a moment of trust, a bridge being built carefully, note by note, between two wounded hearts. When the last light kissed the waves, Ethan strummed a soft chord on his guitar, a melody that seemed to capture everything they had shared in that fleeting evening. Lily leaned slightly against him, letting the music and the gentle rhythm of the sea wash over them. In that moment, the world felt both infinite and intimate, and she understood that sometimes the deepest connections began not with grand gestures, but with quiet truths and shared confessions under a setting sun. Chapter 7. A misunderstandings. Morning was calm, almost deceptively so, as Lily walked toward the cafe. The sun was bright, but a soft breeze carried a chill that reminded her the season was slowly changing. She clutched the sketch Ethan had given her, still tucked carefully in her bag, and felt a flutter of excitement. Today, she thought, she would see him again, and perhaps continue the gentle connection that had been growing between them. But the moment she entered the cafe, the warm comfort she had come to expect seemed absent. Ethan was sitting alone at a table near the corner, his posture tense, his fingers tapping lightly against the wood, as if in quiet frustration. When he noticed her, he offered only a faint nod, his eyes avoiding hers for longer than usual. Lily felt an unexpected pang of unease, wondering if she had done something wrong. The morning passed with a strange tension hovering between them. When Lily finally found the courage to speak, Ethan's responses were curt, distant, and clipped in a way that made her heart ache. She tried to understand, to reach out, but every word felt met with a polite wall other than the warmth and connection she had come to treasure. Later that afternoon, she overheard a conversation between two locals near the cafe counter. One mentioned seeing Ethan with another woman in town, laughing and walking closely along the pier. Lily's stomach dropped. Questions and doubts swirled in her mind. Had she misread everything? Had the gentle gestures and shared smiles meant nothing to him after all? Her thoughts raced, a storm of confusion and hurt. She remembered the nights by the shoreline, the moments of shared laughter, and the vulnerability they had shown each other. And yet now, with this unexpected piece of information, it felt as though those moments were fragile illusions. Doubt gnawed at her heart, making her question not just Ethan's intentions, but her own judgment, unable to contain herself. Lily left the cafe and wandered along the pier, letting the waves and wind carry her thoughts. The water reflected the shifting clouds, turbulent and restless, mirroring the turmoil in her chest. She felt a sense of betrayal, even though she had no real evidence, only assumptions fueled by fear and past wounds. The thought of confronting Ethan terrified her, yet the silence between them was unbearable. Meanwhile, Ethan sat back in the cafe, unaware that Lily had overheard the conversation. He had spent the morning wrestling with his own fears and insecurities, worried that his past and the sudden closeness with Lily might push her away if she knew more about the struggles he had endured. The misunderstanding had grown silently, a gap widening between them without either realizing its full depth. By evening, Lily returned home, her mind heavy with unanswered questions. She realized how fragile trust could be, how quickly assumptions could cloud judgment, and how easily the heart could be wounded by fear. The connection she had cherished felt suspended, delicate and uncertain, like a melody waiting to be completed, but interrupted mid-note. As she sat by her window, watching the last light fade over the town, Lily vowed to confront the confusion, to seek clarity before letting doubt dictate her feelings. She did not yet know how the misunderstanding would resolve, but beneath the hurt, a faint hope lingered, a belief that perhaps, with courage and honesty, the gentle bond she and Ethan shared could survive this moment of tension and grow stronger. Chapter 8. Finding the rhythm. Next morning, Lily walked to the cafe with a sense of quiet determination. The misunderstanding from the previous day weighed on her, but she refused to let doubt control her heart. She needed clarity, needed to understand what had happened, and most of all, needed to hear from Ethan himself. The town was waking slowly, the soft chatter of locals and the distant call of seagulls filling the air with its familiar rhythm. She found Ethan already at the cafe, seated at his usual corner table, strumming his guitar absent-mindedly. His eyes lifted when he noticed her, and for a moment, there was hesitation in his gaze, a reflection of the unspoken tension between them. Lily took a deep breath and walked toward him, her heart beating faster with each step. "Ethan," she said softly, settling into the chair across from him. "Can we talk?" He nodded, setting his guitar aside and folding his hands on the table. There was a vulnerability in his posture that mirrored her own, a willingness to face the discomfort rather than hide from it. "Of course," he replied quietly. Lily spoke first, her voice steady but gentle. She explained what she had overheard, the confusion and hurt it had caused, and the fears that had surfaced. Ethan listened, his eyes never leaving hers, and when she finished, he took a deep breath. "I didn't know anyone had said that to you," he began, his voice calm but tinged with regret. "That woman you saw, she's a friend I ran into in town yesterday. Nothing more. I should have told you. I wanted to, but I hesitated because I didn't want to complicate things or make you doubt me." His words carried sincerity, and Lily felt the tension begin to dissolve. I should have trusted you," she admitted, her fingers brushing the edge of the table. "I let my own fears take over. I didn't mean to jump to conclusions, but my past makes it hard not to." Ethan reached out, placing a hand over hers, and the warmth of his touch grounded her in the present. "We all have pasts," he said softly. "What matters is what we do with the present. I don't want my mistakes, my hesitations, to push you away. I want us to be honest, to let the rhythm between us find its own pace." The conversation unfolded with a gentle honesty that neither had fully expected. They shared not only explanations, but feelings, the uncertainties, the hesitations, and the hope that had been quietly growing between them. Each word, each pause, each small gesture of understanding allowed them to bridge the gap that the misunderstanding had created. Later, as the cafe began to quiet down, Ethan picked up his guitar again. This time, he played a soft, flowing melody that seemed to speak of reconciliation and newfound trust. Lily listened, letting the music wash over her, feeling the connection between them solidify into something tangible and real. The notes echoed like a heartbeat, steady and reassuring, and she realized that their bond had deepened through this moment of vulnerability. When the song ended, Lily smiled, feeling a lightness in her chest that had been absent for too long. Ethan's eyes met hers, warm and sincere, and he said, "I'm glad we found our rhythm again." She nodded, squeezing his hand gently. "Me too," she replied. It was a small statement, but it carried the weight of trust, understanding, and the delicate excitement of hearts beginning to sync. As they sat together, sharing a quiet moment amid the soft hum of the cafe, Lily felt a spark of something new and beautiful. It was more than reconciliation. It was the first true acknowledgement of the bond that had been growing quietly, steadily, and now had room to flourish. The rhythm between them, once tentative and cautious, had become a melody of hope, connection, and the first gentle pulse of love. Chapter 9. Hearts in Harmony. Mornings in the seaside town had begun to feel different for Lily. She woke with a quiet excitement, a gentle anticipation that had nothing to do with the city she had left behind and everything to do with the rhythm of her days, now shared with Ethan. Each encounter, each conversation, each shared smile added a layer of warmth to her heart she had long thought dormant. That morning, she found him already at the cafe, seated by the window with his guitar resting against the chair. His presence was comforting, familiar, and yet still carried a spark of mystery that kept her curiosity alive. When their eyes met, a soft smile passed between them, unspoken words bridging the distance that had once seemed vast. "Good morning," Ethan said softly, setting aside a sheet of music. "I've been working on something new." Lily leaned forward, intrigued. "May I?" she asked. He nodded, and as he played, the melody seemed to mirror the growing harmony between them. It was tender, expressive, and full of life, the music of someone who had learned to trust again. If only in small, careful measures, their days began to intertwine in a rhythm of their own. Lily shared her own passions and ambitions, the dreams she had carried quietly in her heart, and Ethan listened with genuine interest, encouraging her, supporting her, and offering insight from his own life as a musician. He taught her to see the beauty in patience, in dedication, and in finding joy in small accomplishments. One afternoon, they wandered through the town together, visiting the local market. Ethan helped Lily pick out fresh flowers, and she teased him as he carefully inspected each bloom. Laughter followed them down narrow lanes, lined with colorful houses, and for a while, the past felt like a distant memory. The town had become a backdrop for the unfolding harmony between them, a place where their hearts could meet and grow without the shadows that had once held them back. Evenings were spent on the pier, sharing quiet moments as the sun dipped below the horizon. Lily watched Ethan play, his music now carrying notes of joy and connection rather than solitude and sorrow. Sometimes, they talked about dreams for the future, places to visit, songs to create, and moments to savor. Other times, they simply sat together in silence, letting the gentle sway of the waves and the soft sea breeze fill the spaces between them. Through every interaction, they learned more about each other, not only about their passions, but also about the tenderness and care that could be found in a shared glance, a fleeting touch, or a reassuring word. The bond between them deepened, a melody of trust and understanding that seemed to echo in every corner of their lives. One evening, as they walked back to the cafe after a late afternoon by the shore, Ethan stopped and looked at Lily with a seriousness that made her heart skip. "I never thought I'd feel this way again," he admitted softly. "I never thought I'd want someone in my life the way I want you." Lily felt warmth spread through her chest. "And I never thought I'd feel this alive," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Being with you, it feels like coming home." Ethan reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers naturally. "Then let's make sure we never lose this rhythm," he said. The sincerity in his eyes mirrored the harmony that had grown between them, a promise that they would nurture and protect the bond they had created. As they continued their walk, hand in hand, the world seemed brighter, the colors more vivid, and the air itself carried a sense of possibility. Their hearts had found a harmony that was more than shared laughter or mutual support. It was a deep resonance, a connection that celebrated both their individuality and the beauty of being together in the quiet moments. Amid laughter and music and the gentle sway of the town, Lily and Ethan discovered that love could be gentle, patient, and sustaining. It was in these simple, joyful moments that their hearts truly beat in harmony, creating a melody that neither time nor distance could easily break. Chapter 10. Her heartbeat echoes. The seaside town was bathed in the gentle light of early evening, the sun lowering slowly over the horizon and painting the sky with hues of gold and rose. Lily walked along the pier, the familiar scent of salt and seaweed mingling with the soft hum of the waves. Her heart felt light, unburdened, carrying a quiet excitement that had been growing steadily over the past weeks. Today, she would meet Ethan here, not just as a friend, but as someone who had become an essential part of her life. Ethan was waiting at their usual spot, his guitar resting against the railing. He looked up as she approached, his eyes lighting with warmth and something deeper, something unspoken that made Lily's chest tighten with anticipation. There was no hesitation, no awkwardness, only the quiet comfort of two hearts that had found a rhythm together. "Hey," he said softly, his voice carrying a gentle reassurance that made her smile. "Hey," she replied, feeling the familiar flutter of excitement and calm all at once. They walked side by side along the edge of the pier, their fingers brushing occasionally, each touch sending a subtle, electrifying warmth through her. The conversation was easy, flowing from shared memories of the town to playful teasing and gentle reflections on their journey together. Every word, every laugh, every glance deepened the connection that had been steadily blossoming between them. When they reached the end of the pier, Ethan paused and turned to face her. His eyes were soft, vulnerable, and full of a sincerity that took her breath away. "Lily," he said quietly, "these past weeks, they've changed me. You've changed me. I never thought I could feel this way again, but with you, it feels like my heart finally knows where it belongs." Tears welled in Lily's eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming sense of being seen, understood, and cherished. She reached up, gently cupping his face, and whispered, "Ethan, I feel the same. You've brought life back into my heart in ways I didn't think were possible. Being with you, it feels like coming home." He smiled, a radiant, tender smile, and leaned forward, their foreheads resting together as the breeze played with their hair. The moment was simple, yet it carried the weight of everything they had shared: the laughter, the music, the confessions, the misunderstandings, and the patient rebuilding of trust. Their hearts beat in unison, echoing a rhythm that had been waiting for them both to listen and respond. Ethan lifted his guitar, strumming a soft, melodic tune that seemed to capture the entirety of their journey. Lily listened, letting the music fill her chest, the notes intertwining with the beat of her own heart. It was a song of hope, of healing, of love that had grown from quiet beginnings into something profound and enduring. As the last light of the sun kissed the horizon, they sat together on the edge of the pier, legs dangling over the water, hands intertwined, and hearts echoing in perfect harmony. There was no need for grand declarations or dramatic gestures. Everything they had experienced, every shared smile and tender glance, had led them to this moment, a place of quiet, unwavering love. The town behind them glowed softly in the twilight, the waves lapping gently against the shore, and Lily felt a deep, abiding peace settle within her. Ethan's hand in hers, the music of the sea and his guitar, and the warmth of his presence reminded her that love could be gentle, patient, and unshakable. In the quiet that followed, Lily rested her head against Ethan's shoulder, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. She realized then that some connections could not be rushed, that the most profound love often grows in small, unassuming moments. And in that moment, with the world softly fading around them, Lily knew with certainty that her heart had found its echo, and it resonated entirely with his. The melody of their hearts continued, soft and steady, carrying a promise that would linger in the quiet corners of the seaside town for years to come.